back. This is episode number 82 of Kalibrated with Scott. I'm Scott, of course. You guys know me. I'm going to start these videos with house cleaning as always. If you want to stay in touch with when my videos get uploaded, when I'm doing live streams, so on and so forth, go follow me on my Telegram and my Twitter, or my Twitter, either one. I post updates on what I'm doing on both of those. You can find those links in the description. Also, I do daily live streams. I know it doesn't show up for everybody and it's a little bit more difficult to spot, but if you are available while I'm doing those live streams, check in and watch them after. They do get uploaded after I'm done with those live streams. And it's just a really good way for me to interact with my community. You guys can go on there and ask questions, and they're really fun. So I would recommend you guys going and checking those out if you have the time and if you have the interest in it. But without further ado, I think we should just get right into the topic of conversation. So today, as you can tell by the thumbnail, we are talking about the removal of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Zaluzhny. He has been in that position since the start of the war in 2022, and he is a very popular individual. So this came as sort of a shock. I mean, we have known for a couple of days that this was likely coming, but it's still sort of a shock to a lot of the people that follow this conflict. Removing a military leader, the head of your military, right when things start to get bad for you is really not a good sign for the overall health of the Ukrainian state, for the overall situation that the Ukrainians are going to be dealing with in the coming weeks, months, and years, potentially. I've had a lot of people come and ask me, hey, why do you think he got removed? So I'm just going to give you my opinion. I don't know. This is not based on facts. This is half rumors that I've heard, anecdotal stories, stuff like that, but it makes sense to me in my brain. So if anybody doesn't know, Zaluzhny is a notorious nationalist, a Bandera supporter. He has a black and red flag up in his office, so on and so forth. He's very tight with that group. I believe that Zelensky sees Zaluzhny as a political adversary and not an ally. So Zelensky came into power, the war started, and now he has somebody who could potentially usurp him in sort of a Maidan 2.0, utilizing these nationalist elements and potentially garnering support from an outside source, such as the United States. Like I said, this removal comes at an absolutely horrible time for the armed forces of Ukraine. They are currently basically encircled in Avdiivka. They are losing other areas such as Novomihailovka and areas up in the Kharkov and LPR regions. So this is not what you want to see. And if you look at any of the pro-Ukrainian information space right now, it is buzzing. They are not happy with this decision. And the reason why they're not happy with this decision primarily is because of who is replacing Zaluzhny. Zaluzhny is being replaced by a man named Syrsky. He was the general who was in charge of the defense of Bakhmut. We all know how that ended. And he is infamous for his disregard for human life, his subordinates' lives in particular. He was credited with the Kharkov offensive, although it was not his doing at all. He was just the person that the politicians leaned on because he was the highest ranking individual in this area, but he was not responsible for the Kharkov offensive, which is one of Ukraine's only actual offensive successes throughout this war. If you guys know, Kherson was a Russian withdrawal due to logistics pressure, not necessarily a Ukrainian offensive. So Kharkov being the most significant means that he gets that title, that honor, but it really does not belong to him. What does belong to him is his defense of Bakhmut and how many thousands of men were sacrificed needlessly, I would say, to defend that city, which later on had trickle-down effects on the abilities of the Ukrainian army to counterattack in the Zaporozhye region during the counteroffensive in the summer. And the continued degradation of the Ukrainian armed forces was just accelerated by his actions around Bakhmut. And then later, during the counteroffensive, he continued his offensive operations around Bakhmut, which were also unsuccessful. And now he has been promoted to commander in chief. He is also a ethnic Russian, which puts a lot of bad taste in pro-Ukrainian mouths, just because they have this idea that Russians and Ukrainians are different when really they're not. I mean, you can make an argument that Western Ukrainians are different than Russians, but mostly being Ukrainian is kind of just a choice. After 1991, Sersky, if you don't know, was raised in a village just east of Moscow. So he's Russian through and through. He served in the Soviet armed forces, and went to school under Soviet doctrine, and then stayed in Ukraine after the Soviet Union broke up in 1991. So, like I said, basically just a choice to be Ukrainian. And he's a butcher. I mean, this is what the entire Ukrainian information space is saying, that he will not benefit the Ukrainian armed forces in any way. He will not be doing anything. I don't know this for sure. Obviously, wait and see, let it play out, see how this story develops. But it's looking like Zelensky put somebody into that position who he could control. He removed Zaluzhny, who was, very popular, especially in the military, which is a very dangerous thing to have a very popular military leader who you are at odds with in terms of strategy and how you see the war progressing going forward. Zaluzhny wanted to take a step back, go on the defensive. He did not believe in the counteroffensive in the summer, according to anecdotal reports. I mean, I do not know all this information for a fact, but this is what a lot of people say. And he was definitely at odds with Zelensky. You sort of have a Berlin situation going on, where you have military leadership telling Zelensky what needs to happen to continue fighting the war in a productive manner. And you have Zelensky and other politicians coming in and basically saying, no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to do this, this, and this. We're not going to take a step back from any cities. We're going to do this counteroffensive that's going to fail because we're running directly into Russian kill zones and entrenchments. But there was not. It doesn't matter, because Zelensky is the big man. Like, that's. I feel like people don't understand how integral Zelensky is now to the Ukrainian state. Removing Zelensky is going to leave a massive power vacuum, because he has completely consolidated power. I was wrong in my prediction. I thought that Bundanov, I don't know how to say his name, but you know who I'm talking about. The head of the SBU of Ukraine, the intelligence service. That was my prediction, just because he's kind of in the same boat that Zelensky's in. He's not necessarily a military leader, so he doesn't have experience. He probably shouldn't be put there. But I figured with his intelligence community connections, he would be able to operate the military, maybe hands off, sort of let other people do it. But he would be the face and the connection in the military. And him and Zelensky are very tight. And Bundanov is also a asset of the West. So that's why I thought. I never thought Sersky, for all of the reasons I just mentioned, Russian, infamous in Ukraine and in the Ukrainian military for his leadership style and his military decision-making. And really what this looks like to me is a ginormous gift to the Russians. This is going to create massive confidence issues in the Ukrainian armed forces. A lot of the military leadership really liked Zaluzhny, so you will likely see a purge of Ukrainian generals and stuff like that in the coming weeks, probably silently, but I'll try to keep you guys informed on that. But this is what I would consider a significant setback for the Ukrainian armed forces. I'm going to take us over to my Twitter, because I have some things that I want to show you. I want to show you some of the reactions of the people. I also want to show you a post an article by the New York Times, I believe. Yes, here it is. The New York Times. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. First, Ukraine's creative use of weapons carries promise and risk, right? So the risk being, if you move a Patriot to the border of Russia and you shoot down an IL-76 full of Ukrainian POWs that are coming for a trade, that could be one of the risks, I guess. This is like the weirdest damping down of a war crime I've ever seen. They're trying to say, well, they were being creative at least when they killed all these POWs that were flying on a Russian plane. But hey, it happens, right? Once again, I was right. This is something that I have to say because I get told probably 45 times a day that I'm wrong about everything I say, right? So again, I presented all of the evidence for this plane crash. I presented the bodies, the list that the Russian MOD had put out, which was corroborated by the Ukrainian headquarters for prisoners of war, saying that those men were indeed, in fact, supposed to be transferred to Ukraine and then exchanged for Russian soldiers. And now we have the New York Times coming out saying that a U.S. official basically says that, yes, Ukraine shot down this IL-76 full of Ukrainian POWs with a Patriot missile system. It's just really the icing on the cake. This week has been fantastic for my predictions and where I see things going. And this is just another, what else can we say besides I was right? Like it's super braggadocious, I know, and it's lame, but that's what's going on. Here's the final photo of Zaluzhny and Zelensky. This guy just got very, 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 very lucky. Throwing up the old peace sign. He got out just in time. He will likely have the counteroffensive and Avdiivka kind of put on him as his fault, although he was very vocal about not being super on board with the counteroffensive and withdrawing from Avdiivka. This man right here is a criminal. This man is a Bandera-loving, you know the word, it starts with an N, but he was actually a competent, what I would say is a semi-competent military leader. He's nothing special, but he's making the right decisions in terms of what he thinks should happen, such as retreating from certain salients that are not tenable anymore, and so on and so forth. So he got out. He's going to probably be the ambassador to Great Britain for Ukraine. He has a lot of connections there. That this was their guy. I do believe that the reason why a lot of this he said, she said, was it coming out about Zaluzhny being fired. I do believe that they had planned on firing him earlier, and then the Brits got a hold of it and basically made a big stink about it and tried to turn it around and make it a big thing. But Zelensky's going to get his way. Zelensky's going to stay in power until he's removed by force, probably. And Zaluzhny is no longer on board with that. So take us out of this. And then I wanted to, and then this is just funny. This is Zaluzhny right now. And here's Xerxes. If you guys did not know what he looks like, he's right here. So, and then some of the reactions about this from the Ukrainian information space, sacking Zaluzhny and replacing him with Xerxes is not a new approach. Sorry. Because that's what Zelensky said in his post, that the armed forces of Ukraine needed a, quote, new approach. But that's not what Xerxes is. Xerxes was already in a leadership position. He's just the same old, and notorious for sending human meat waves at the Russians. So, and then you have Ukraine battle maps, who I do not respect at all, but he still has a understanding of the war. He said this entire thing is a horrible decision, no matter how you look at it. They wanted to make it look good on social media, which is exactly true. It is a nightmare to be doing this right now. I don't know how anybody could be defending this, but here we go. I'll show you. Our favorite NAFO folks. Yes, Ukraine's new top commander, commanding general in its war against Russian invasion is an ethnic Russian born and raised in Russia. He studied military affairs to be commissioned as an officer in Moscow. He moved to Ukraine as a teen in 1980. All right. And then here we go. Our favorite NAFO. He may not be your pick, but he was the pick. Stop bitching and fall in line, at least publicly. Disunity is the last thing you want to be projecting. Shut the hell up and get in line. That is what a fascist person would say. That is exactly how fascism works. Shut up. It doesn't matter what you think. He is the choice. Deal with it. And if you say the wrong thing, we're going to cannibalize you because we cannot have anybody going against the narrative. This is the groupthink. This is the nonsense. That is the reason why Ukraine will end up losing this war. It is tragic and just very, very sad that this group of people had to latch on to this cause. These incel, libtard, garbage monkeys that just don't know what they're doing. They don't know anything about what they're talking about. They just follow the what's popular. So now I'm going to take us over to the map where I'm going to show you guys some updates on what is going on in Ukraine, and that's where we will finish out this video. So starting here, we have Russian progress into the eastern half of Novomikhailivka. Again, this is significant. I had said that where I expect the Russians to push is in this salient in my video yesterday, and I do expect that this will continue. The Russians want to reach Konstantinivka, reach this 0532 highway, cut it off from Ugledar, and then push up into Ugledar and take this whole southern section of the map. This area, once it collapses, opens up all of this because there's really not a lot of good defensive positions further back. It's a lot of open fields, flat, and not a lot of dedicated fortifications have been built in this area. And then moving over to Avdiivka, we have a further expansion of Russian control on this flank. Basically, I mean, you can look at this. This is almost not even a flank anymore. It's turning into a whole new front in and of itself. But the Russians have expanded into these city blocks and also up into this northern dacha area next to the coke plant. I expect that this area will fall in short order too. It's going to be really hard for the Ukrainians to maintain anything on this side of the railroad, at least up in this northern sector. Down in the southern sector, the Russians will likely continue expanding, try to reach these two points right here and make a connection right around here, and then file down and start pushing. I do expect this area to be evacuated by the Ukrainians very shortly, as well as this area very shortly as well. This area is supposed to be a strong defensive area, but the Russians dropped 100 glide bombs yesterday alone on basically this small stretch right here and this area, basically annihilating every Ukrainian staging point, deployment area. Everything was destroyed. We even had a report, an unconfirmed report, so take it with a grain of salt, that about a company of Ukrainians that were grouped together in one of these basements of one of these buildings was hit directly with a glide bomb, and they suffered basically probably total casualties. But I don't really know if there's a company which is 100 to 200 guys in one small area. It seems kind of ridiculous. When you say a company, I mean, I would think probably 30, 40 guys in a building that got taken down. But this situation is an unbelievable nightmare, and it's only getting worse daily. They still seem to not be fully retreating out of the city. I don't know what the goal is. I don't know what they see here. I mean, look at this. Look how far they have to travel in here to get supplies to this area, and they still haven't moved. They're trying to hold this still. It just makes no sense to me. I do expect that this whole salient will collapse within the next week or two. The Ukrainians just don't have the infrastructure or logistics to hold it. So be on the lookout for that. All right, that's where I'm going to end it today. Thank you, everybody. Check in later tonight for that live stream if this video gets uploaded in time. And if it doesn't, check out my live streams. They'll be up almost every single day. This Saturday, I am having a live stream with my friend Alex Zaganel and Von Clausewitz, if you know him from Twitter. And we will be doing a drinking and like a drunk stream kind of. So it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. You guys can tune into that. But for me, that's all. And be safe and have a great day, everyone. Bye.